All
And
right.
welcome. This is Financial Survival Network, and I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Hey, got an interesting guest on, Scott Jarred, wealth management expert, real estate expert, and heads up a billion-dollar company. And Scott, it's great to have you on the show. So, how'd you wind up getting into real estate?
Oh, real estate was funny. When I was a kid, I like never had really had any money. And one day we were looking out in our Section 8 housing apartment project, and a guy's helicopter landed in the backyard. And I'm like, what are the rules that he's playing that we're not playing? And so from that moment on, I was like, man, it'd be really cool to be able to be in real estate. And I ended up going to school for urban planning and real estate finance. Ended up getting a master's in technology and never really had any money to do real estate early on. So we started a wealth management company called Invest,
Mhm.
and was helping people with their money. And not too long ago, we worked with a lot of real estate investors, like as they're helping them with their money and all that. And then it wasn't we would used to co-invest with them, and now we actually do a lot of that in house now. So it's really expanded our reach into the real estate market. So
Uh-huh.
that it became a byproduct of what we were doing. Even though it's what I wanted to do, it wasn't really what the company was founded to do.
So, from Section 8 to to this amazing business. What do you think the secret was of your success?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just like when you're in a scarcity minded world where your life is just miserable, like meaning like you just can't do stuff, like you have no freedom. You're not free to go do what you want to do when you want with who you want. And I think there's a point in your life where you just have a mind shift that says, this is what I want. Like I want this for myself. So that happened for me where I was just like, it doesn't matter what it takes. I'm going to work really hard to not have to be able to live the life that I want, to be able to live it under my own terms. And so just started grinding it out, worked really hard, and got there. So hard work works, if you will.
Hard work. Yeah, well, Edison said, "What some people see as luck, I see as overalls." You know.
Exactly. We have a shirt like luck means when preparation meets opportunity. And we say like when preparation when you meet invest, and then and invest is the opportunity. So our company's invest. So like you're prepared, you're ready, and then when the opportunity presents itself, you can take advantage of that opportunity, whether it's real estate or in your business or whatever you're trying to do. Recovering attorney as you will.
Yeah, well, but hard work alone isn't enough. There's millions of people out there working their tails off, and
Yeah.
you you really meet with limited success. So
Yeah.
there's got to be something more to it than that.
Absolutely. I think hard work is yeah, you can work really hard and get no results. And so for me, the hard work when I started was like, how do I do a paper route? So now, like to get money, I had to go run papers. So to be able to build scale, then you have to hire employees to run the papers for you. So by 12, I started realizing, well, I could go do all the manual physical work, or I could start to use my brain and start to think about how do I manage others to be able to give them opportunity. So when I started to learn that I could be an opportunity creator for other people, then the opportunities came back to me tenfold. So
All right.
then my whole framework of mindset was like, what if I could create a world where I could just create more opportunity? And that was my unique ability for other people and to solve their problems and what they want. And so then the point you're making is like the hard work is a part of it, but now you got to start thinking smart and how to use your capability, things that you're uniquely gifted that other people aren't, that will help you become more successful. And that was one of the biggest things that I discovered early in my life. And I've just been, now I'm 48 years old, just been really honing that skill. And now, we have 83 employees versus just a few. And we're helping entrepreneurs every day scale, grow, make their money work for them so they don't have to work for it.
Yeah. Hey, on your road, your path to success, uh, there's always a seminal event. For you, it was the helicopter landing there, right? And
Yeah.
but not everybody sees it that way. Um, if you were, if you got one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur, whatever they want to do to succeed, what would it be?
Oh, okay. So no matter where you are in the entrepreneurial journey, you're always in an inflection point. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like for us, from the very beginning as an entrepreneur to now managing billions of dollars and overseeing a lot of financial responsibility for people, it's just a different level of game you're playing, but that game still goes on. And it's just like you got to just have good habits and really hone in on those good habits. And if you have bad habits, that's what's going to kill you. So how do you get your bad habits to switch to good habits and do them more consistent over a long period of time? But the world doesn't get easier. Elon Musk said it best. He's like, entrepreneurs are like literally staring down a black abyss and eating glass every single day. And you just got to be super comfortable being uncomfortable in that. And when you're just talking about like staring down a black abyss and eating glass, it's like even as you get so higher up like you get your entrepreneurial journey gets higher and higher, the stakes may get bigger, but you may be more comfortable in it because you're more comfortable of acting in that way. So for me, it's that the one piece of advice is you're better off, just be better than where you were yesterday, be a better version of you, and don't quit. Just keep grinding through it, thinking smart, thinking hard. But the moment you start letting that abyss and you start letting that grind get you down, that's when you lose.
Yeah. So, success is a path, and everybody's path is different.
Yeah.
And for you, like growing up in what sounds like a very disadvantaged, you know, childhood there,
Yeah.
uh, you know, what was the family support like? How did did they help, or were they a hindrance?
Yeah. So for me, like my mom and dad were divorced very young in my life. And so I was raised by a single mother for the most part that was just working waiting tables, odd end jobs, on Section 8 housing and food stamps. So by the time I was 12, like you had no choice but to figure it out. And that to me is, I think, a gift. And also as an older child, I had younger brother and sister. So I was always dialing down on like, how do I make a better life for myself? So for me to have, I mean, obviously I had a family and they were there to support and all that, but financially that was not there. So it was like, how hard are you going to work? What are you going to do to get yourself in put yourself in a better environment to succeed in life? And that's where that skill came from. But that was my background coming out. So to me, it was actually an advantage growing up that way because I didn't know what the other side of it looked like. I just had to like figure it out. And I think today a lot of things are just handed to people and they don't know how to create on their own.
So when you hear people talking like the government needs to do more to help, did the government help you make your fortune?
They did not help me get my fortune, but I'll tell you what was nice is there was a safety net at some point. There was, food stamps, there was Section 8 housing and things of that nature. There was great college options from student loans, Pell Grants, and stuff like that for someone like me to be able to get out, to be able to do it. But I'll tell you, living in America is the best country ever because you can have that opportunity. So you can get through. But I think the government helps you with a certain safety net to be able to help get through. But we have the best schools, we have the best education systems, we got a free economy and a free market that you can go create whatever you want. So I think that's where the government's been great is like letting entrepreneurs thrive. That's why everybody wants to live in America. And but
Even
that's
to
where
this
it's
day,
at.
right?
Yeah.
Even to this day, with things going wrong a lot in
That's
the country, there's still America is built on optimism and hope for a better tomorrow.
yeah,
Is that still alive here? Is it still possible?
absolutely. 100%. Would you rather do it here or somewhere? Where else would you want to do
Yeah.
it? I
Well,
mean, yeah, I'm telling you, we see entrepreneurship all the time. We see people grinding, scaling, doing their thing. Um, Whatever's happening inside the government and the world, it goes in swings. We have these things, and we gotta learn how to be in that environment. But when you do live in a free economy and a free world, free country, and the way we do things, it gives you a lot of opportunity. You just got to know which side to play on.
yeah. Yeah. So, as far as mentors or people who inspired you when you were younger, can you give us a few?
I mean, I think for me, it was like you just take a lot from everyone you're with. For me, my way out of my situation was sports. So mentorship for me was like football coaches, the basketball coaches, people there are just like pushing you to do better. When I was younger, and that was that. So like my football coach, Coach Scotton, and the linebacker coaches and all that say, hey, you know, you can be successful. And then when you see someone in front of you that's doing well, like there were some guys that were playing and they ended up going to the NFL, and you see what they were able to do, so you can shadow that. So when you see someone that's actually doing really well, that mentorship really once benefits you. And even today at where I'm at now, there's guys that are 20 and 30 years older than me that have been doing it for a long time, and they'll talk to you and they'll tell you like, hey, here's how you get how you do things. So there's when you find successful people, they're very willing to give back. And
Hey,
you just got to ask the questions.
I always say, if you invest in yourself, that
Yeah.
investment will always pay multiple returns more than a government handout or anything else, uh,
Yeah.
whether it's courses or, you know,
Yeah.
out there practicing, whatever training. Hey, what role does managing your emotions play in success, Scott?
So in invest, like one of the things that we focus on, and I think you nailed it, the most important asset is you. And no, it's not your money, it's not your portfolio, it's not your real estate, it's you. So you always invest in yourself. So I think you nailed that there. And when it comes to financial decisions, there's three components to it. And the first one's like your IQ, like how well you know money. But the EQ, which is your emotional quotient, that's where things go awry. And a lot of people make decisions based on their emotions, not only just in the way they manage money, but the way they get up every day, the way they show up, the way they deliver, what their belief systems on what they can do. So we try to measure like, here's your IQ when it comes to money, here's your EQ, and then here's your experience. And as you get better experience, like I was saying, I get more experience now than I did before when it comes to handling money and doing certain things, but my emotions are still, you still have to manage and tame those emotions. So the emotional thing, like literally we have 10,000 clients here and 2,500 households, and you almost feel like you're a psychologist more than you are anything. And it's not just for your money management and like how you manage your emotions. It's the business owner that's trying to scale and grow, and you're helping them. So we've built these systems out to help entrepreneurs with help them get inside their own head and have the disciplines necessary to be able to scale and grow themselves. So I would say 85% of it's your mind game.
Yeah. Hey, so but sometimes life can get scary. What do you think was the scariest moment on your path to success?
I think every day is a scary moment in some way. It's like you got to make, I probably make 100 and some decisions a day, and you can make them, are they the right choices? And you got to make your decision right. So even though I made the decision, you got to make the decision right. But as you go through, I think my biggest thing was like even being broke as a kid and coming out of that, it always felt like you were helpless. And I just remember when I actually made it and I started to be a little bit successful, and it was in 2008 and 2009, and the whole real estate market was crashing down. I was in Tampa at the time, and it
Mhm.
felt like, wow, the world's coming down. A lot of people were trying to file bankruptcy and all that stuff. And I just kept that optimism and that abundance mindset. I was like, look, maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a way we can work this out. Maybe there's a way we can hold on. And I think those kinds of times is when I've learned so much. So it's like in those hard times, you do better. So then when COVID hit and everyone's freaking out during COVID, I was like, man, this is nothing. This is easy. Like we got this. So I think you start to go through these really hard times and they end up becoming, that's when you win the game. It's like when it gets really difficult and hard, that's when you are. So when I felt like it was so helpless and bleak at the time, I was like, that's where your emotions start to come. It's like, this is actually when you double down on this opportunity. And I flipped that around the other way. But I think it happens a lot. I think we have a lot of hard times every single day. Like, and it's just how you deal with them. But those big economic downturns were really hard for me because it impacted a lot of people's lives. And that's what we do for a living.
Yeah. All right. So, um, I totally can relate to what you're saying. Uh, it's always darkest before the light. That's what I always tell myself. And like you, when COVID hit, I saw it as one of the great opportunities in life because just myself going back to 2008, 9, the GFC, the great financial collapse. I took the fear mindset. I thought it was the end of the world. And I missed so many opportunities, Scott, to really have
Yeah.
just made huge sums of money that I knew were there because I knew the crash was coming, the real
Yeah.
estate crash. I was in Las Vegas and this was, I think, in '08. And I looked around and there was a sea of taxi cabs just before Uber really took over. And they had signs on top of them. Uh, 3 bedroom, 2 bath townhouse, brand new, interest only mortgage, no money down. And I said, this is it. We're at the end because they've run out of buyers. And these are the only people they can get to buy this stuff. And literally
Yeah.
6 months, and I was with my partners as practicing law, very lucrative law practice. I turned each of them, I said, this is it. Crash is coming. You know it, but I didn't do anything about it. I could have
Yeah.
sold my house and sold my vacation house, had enough money. I could have bought up half of Florida at that point. And it was only afterwards when I met a guy who was buying up tax deed foreclosures in Lee County, and he was buying up bank foreclosures, and he'd done hundreds of them. And I wasn't like, oh, he just told me, oh, I did this. I actually went into the property records and looked up every deal that he had made,
Oh
and
yeah.
I saw the money there. There was no question.
Yeah.
The least amount of money you made on flipping one of these foreclosures was 20 grand. And, you know, I realized I had blown it. And I said, the next time this happens, I'm not going to miss it. And
Right.
now I think we're getting another one of these opportunities. Election uncertainty, the
Yeah.
security that
Yeah.
you feel out there in the world is the equivalent almost of a mini COVID or a mini financial collapse. And yet that's when the opportunities really present themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember '08, '09, those years. I had 15 condos or something in Tampa. And I think the value of those were like 25 cents on the dollar. Because I thought, oh, I'm going to own all this real estate. And I didn't own the right kind of real estate personally. But I would work with a lot of developers. So I'd buy condos in their places and stuff. And I just remember in our
Yeah.
we always protected against downside protection. We used a lot of life insurance that was uncorrelated to the market. So we had cash stored in those. When the market corrected, the bond prices went up. We had trust work. So what we had done a really good job is we did a really good job of cash management. So when the markets moved, our clients had money. So then they could go back and buy those assets on the cheap or do restructure because the banks would be like, well, we want that money. It's like, well, the money's protected. You can't get it, but we'll do a deal. Like, can we work this out? So we did a lot of workouts and stuff to be able to get there. And you fast forward from there,
Right.
right now, the exact same history itself. So like we just bought an office tower, actually bought 4 towers in the last 18 months that were so value ridden from COVID. Like we got a class A building. We got a 30, the net operating income's 3.5 million and it's 50% full. Meaning you can literally buy it right now and generate a 10% return on your money and you have huge upside. And not to mention we have a bunch of leases coming in. So we've literally have built this like massive real estate portfolio on stuff where the banks are foreclosing, they're writing it down, they're saying no one's going back to the office, none of stuff's ever going to happen. And what we're seeing is the absolute opposite. We're seeing this thing being, we're resetting basis, we're getting stuff for 10% of replacement costs, and we're buying future cash flows. So we're seeing huge opportunity in these assets. And our clients are in a situation where they're uncorrelated to the market. They've got assets that are able to manage the volatility so they can take advantage of these opportunities they present themselves. So now we're like sitting there going, wow, I'm glad I went through all these hardships to get to here. So then when the real party starts, to your point, I can take massive action.
Oh, that's amazing. So office buildings, who would think? So you're really a contrarian investor here.
Yeah, yeah, because we don't want to follow the lemmings off the mountain. So you're over there building multifamily projects, and you got to exit them at 5 caps and 4 caps. Well, your safe withdrawal rate's 5 right now in treasuries. There's no way you're going to be in a lot of trouble if you can't make sure that that thing is working at a very high level. So we're buying stuff where it's working at 10 and 20 caps when we get them ready to go. So where there's huge margin of error and margin of safety for when you go into those things, because you're buying them at, you can't even get, they're basically getting for land costs essentially of what you're doing. And the three keys to real estate: location, location, location. So now you're buying things in the urban core that have the most unbelievable desirable locations, and you can't even build this stuff for less than 10% replacement cost. So when you're getting it for $27 a foot, $50 a foot, very contrarian, but
Mhm.
that's what we're doing. And we're having huge success in it.
All right. So what if people don't go back to the office? Is there a way to monetize those assets? Because it seems like, I
Yeah.
guess, uh, it feels like people just don't really, uh, they aren't going to go back to the office.
Yeah. So Zoom is probably what, I think we're on Zoom right now. They just mandated all their employees work in the office, like come back to the office. They're mandating it at scale. We have a mandate here in our office where we need people in the office to do collaboration, to build best practices. So certain companies definitely will be working more of a hybrid, probably is, like, I think what you'll see, but there's something to be said of actual collaboration and things you can do inside of your environment. So a lot of these companies need that. So these law firms, they're taking multiple floors in that. The Indiana Supreme Court rents from us. So we've got a lot of actual, we're seeing the opposite of that, where they're like, we need to get you back in the office and we need to start seeing this happen. But what they need to do is take these spaces that no one wants to be in and make them vibrant again. So like what we're doing is we're converting some into hotels. We're creating more retail centers there. We're building things around it to make it more of an attraction area versus the anti-office, which I hate the office myself. It's like if you will look at our office, it doesn't even look like an office. It's got a gym in it. It's got a basketball court. It's got golf sim. It's like someone's living room. It's like a house. It's not really an office. So the way you repurpose this real estate and make them more of a lifestyle type of place where people want to be, that's what we're seeing. It's starting to work in this space, in these buildings that we're buying.
All right. Hey, really interesting conversation here. I guess you're following Warren Buffett. When there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy. When everyone's
Yeah.
happy and things can never go bad again, that's when you sell. Hey, Scott, where do we find you? How do we connect with you on the web?
Yeah, so my our website's invest.com. We have principles to financial freedom. So if you want help on this stuff, what we can do, if you go on the website, we can go through an assessment, which is really like help you clearly define your why. We help you build out your virtual game board where you can weigh and measure financial decisions and really create rules to your money. So you'll see the 6 key principles in there, but that's the best way to reach out. And I'd be more than happy to sit down and just go through a quick, hey, here's how I see the world, and here's how I think we can help in a big way. But that's the easiest way to reach me. And then obviously my personal site's scottjarred.com. And that's another way to meet if you guys want anything, you want me to help speak or help motivate employees or whatever, where I'm good for all that stuff as well.
All right. Well, you've motivated me, Scott. And
Good.
you know, it's like your success or your failure, it all happens upstairs, right?
Yeah.
That's where it takes place. And then it just manifests itself in the real
Yeah.
world. So appreciate you coming on. Hey, if you've got a question
Absolutely.
for Scott, myself, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. Link to Scott's sites in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. While you're there, make sure you sign up for your free newsletter, get information
Right.
like this and so much more. Scott, appreciate you coming on.
Let's go from survival to thriving, baby. Let's go.